All right, it's no secret. The solution-focused approach is very, very difficult to learn and even more difficult to master, which seems counterintuitive because this approach is so simple. We think that we should be able to master it, but it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. The main reason that makes solution-focused brief therapy difficult actually goes back to the way we learn it in graduate school, because most graduate programs teach the questions and help us memorize the questions associated with solution-focused brief therapy and not the question process. So let me tell you what I mean. In graduate school, I can remember studying the miracle question. I can remember studying exception finding. I can remember studying the scaling question. I can remember asking questions about the client's strengths and resources and resiliencies. But what we don't study is how to ask them. What we don't study is the question process. How do we know when to ask a question? How do we know how to word the question in a way that produces a response that leads towards meaningful change? And that's really, really difficult. When I was in graduate school, I so wanted to be a helpful clinician, just like I assume most people in graduate school studying to become a counselor and a psychotherapist or a psychologist or whatever. Like, we want to help people. We want to contribute to their lives in a meaningful way. But this approach is so difficult because the wording shift, the subtle phrasing shifts make all of the difference in the world when you're asking a client a question. An example is recently I was supervising somebody and they had a session. They videotaped it and let me watch it as a part of the training. And as I watched the tape, the session took a kind of difficult turn when the client said, I feel like I'm always depressed. And then the therapist, a new person to solution-focused brief therapy, thought for a minute and then asked an exception question saying, well, can you tell me about a time when you weren't depressed? Now, what that question communicates to the client is that I'm not listening to you because I just told you that I feel like I'm always depressed. So if the therapist then says, tell me about a time when you weren't depressed, you did ask an exception question, the way that we'd word it in solution-focused brief therapy, but there need to be some very gentle, subtle cues. There need to be some very gentle, subtle shifts in the language to help the question become more answerable. So for an example, we would say, it must be difficult to be always depressed. Can you remember a time in your life where that seemed to be different or less so? Now, that might seem like the exact same question, but in the second way, it honors that the client had just told me they're always depressed. And that helps the question become more answerable and thus becomes more likely to produce a response that would lead towards change. And that's the way solution-focused brief therapy works. I often say that learning solution-focused brief therapy is not about learning what to ask. It's about learning what to ask based on what the client says to your previous question. And that's hard, and that's difficult. And it's very, very difficult to teach, and consequently difficult to learn. Now, I have spent years doing nothing but studying the question process. And as a consequence, I've just gotten better and better and better over time at asking questions. And I'm here to tell you, I don't have any kind of special skill. I'm not any different than anyone else. I'm just someone who has completely nerded out about questions for the past 10 years. And now I love to teach it. I love to teach people the question process so that they can become more efficient, more proficient, and gain a level of mastery for solution-focused brief therapy. It's why I make these videos. It's why I do almost everything that I do, because I want you to be able to understand this isn't so much about learning the questions. It's about learning how to craft the questions based on what the client has said to your previous question. That's the trick in solution-focused brief therapy. It's why I do an annual free training series about the question process. In fact, as I record this video, I'm in the middle of that free training series. I do it once a year, and now I'm doing it this year in January. And all you have to do is go to thequestionsmethod.com, and you can get a free training on the how to ask these questions. It's not about theory, and it's not about the questions themselves. It's about the question process, because once you become a master of this question process, then your clients will achieve better outcomes, and you'll feel better doing the type of work that we do as clinicians, because that's what we want. I mean, we want to be helpful to people. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you're watching this video any place other than my blog, please head on over to elliotspeaks.com and check out this video on my blog, because that's where I have a whole bunch of free things that I give away, and that's where you can sign up for the question series that I said earlier. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff on that website. And please leave a comment, share this video on your social media pages, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for watching this video, and happy solutioning, everybody.